Hey guys, I'm not dead yet. It is MacGuffin back with some more StarCraft 2 action, and holy, it has been a long time since I've done anything on this channel. I think it was about July, and if you did see my last cast, you know that I have moved to Japan, and I'm starting to get set up over here. I've got some fancy new equipment, a new computer, it's all nice and shiny. And let's get back into some StarCraft. So let's see, we do have the red Zerg is going to be mtwDimaga versus FXOasd. Don't know too much about ASD, of course that is where my left hand is resting right now. Just sort of naturally goes there. If you've been playing games for the last few years, you're probably doing the same. Your hand always seems to rest on that WSAD. Of course he is part of the FX Open, and looks like he is going to start with a low ground pylon, which looks like it's going to be a Forge Fast Expand. Of course the metagame's changed a bit since I last have done any games, so I've been trying to catch up on that, playing a few games, watching a few replays, and it looks like he's scanning to the watchtower, and he was going to this base initially, but he's got the watchtower and noticed there was no overlord flying in the middle of the map here, so he's going straight down to the lower position, which of course is where Dimaga is. So he's going to get into the base and see that there's no shenanigans coming out for Dimaga. Realistically, I think Dimaga's going to go for a economic build. I have cast a few of his games. He's either going to get the hatchery first, or more likely the spawning pool first. And the spawning pool first in versus a Protoss is of course because you don't want to deal with any of those cannon shenanigans, or maybe a couple early zealots. Of course, if he had scouted, you would notice it's going to be a Forge Fast Expand. And it looks like... is he actually going to go for Nexus first or Forge first? And that should be interesting to see. Of course the spawning pool is down now, so he's able to decide where he wants to go. He is over 200 minerals and he has his rally point at low ground, which means he will be expanding with the Nexus first. And it looks like this probe's going to have a bit of the cat and mouse game that you always seem to have between Zerg and Protoss players when they're trying to get that fast expansion down. And let's see how good he can be with this probe. He's countered it a few times, and is he going to block it again? No, he does. And ooh, gets down the pylon, so unfortunately that probe's going to return to base victoriously, and that drone is very upset. Of course, because you've gone for this early spawning pool, those Zerglings should be out soon, and they'll be able to deal with it. The Nexus is now down for WSAD, and Forge is also going down. Probably get a couple of cannons, maybe just one cannon generally. As I was saying, the game has changed a bit. Usually when you see this sort of Forge Fast Expand, the Zerg will usually counteract with getting the quick third, which will be down here. Of course the probe is actually sticking around, so he might be able to do a bit more harassment on that front. The first 4 Zerglings are out, and I don't think Dimaga's going to produce any more, at least until he gets some more bases down. Just because it cuts into your drone count too much. But yeah, apparently there's been a bit of a meta shift where Zerg players are getting a lot of infestors lately. And apparently a lot of people aren't very happy about that. Of course, the Infestor has always been is it too powerful sort of unit? It's sort of either kind of shit or too good. And recently, apparently Fungal Growth and Infested Terrans are all the rage, and people are pretty upset, saying it really needs a nerf. But interestingly, Blizzard has decided that they don't want to nerf it, they want to see if the metagame just sort of works itself out, which is quite different to their early standpoint where they're just nerfing things left and right. Although, of course, there was some pretty crazy stuff at the beginning of the game, such as those 4-axe Reapers. Let's go back to see what we got. Looks like he is going for that quick third, so which would be a sort of Stefano style. Of course, the Stefano style usually don't get gas until about 6 minutes, and of course you get a lot of roaches. And roaches really cut into your gas count, and if you're getting a lot of roaches, infestors are kind of hard to get. So you won't be able to get that really good composition of Broodlord Infestor, which apparently is unbeatable. We'll have to wait and see. And looks like going to ASD's vision, he has seen that the Zerg is expanded. So is he going to counter this with his own expansion, or is he going to go for a 2-base all-in? Can't say just yet. Of course, he does have his Subnets core coming down, and this Overlord is still sitting pretty. Of course, no Stalkers are possible yet until this Subnets core is finished, so as long as he starts moving in the next, say, 10 seconds, he should be fine. See how Dimaga's still behind on drones, but I imagine with his second hatchery up and his Queen's starting to head to his third, his drone count is going to skyrocket. That Overlord looks like it was getting a bit greedy, trying to go to see what was coming out. He might have been trying to see if there was an upgrade coming, because if there's a +1 coming, there would be definitely an early aggression build, but seeing that the Forge isn't operating or even being chrono boosted, looks like that's not going to be the case. Probe is still around, sticking down here. Looks like the Zerglings missed it. He could of course put a pylon in here and come back later to be a real bit of a headache for the Zerg player. The Zerg player is now even on drones, and I imagine it's going to start popping up. He did get his 2 gas about 650, and that's a bit late generally compared to the regular Stefano style. But interestingly, ASD is getting a Stargate. course, he's going to be able to take out all the overlords on the map. There is 2 close to his base at the moment. Actually, there's not too much overlord spread just now for Dimaga. I guess maybe he's expecting that, or maybe he just doesn't want to lose too many overlords. Of course, getting supply blocked really hurts into your drone powering. It looks like he hasn't injected in this queen yet, which looks like a bit of a mistake. Bit of oversaturation on this middle patch as well. ASD is warping in a Void Ray from his Stargate. I imagine he's going to follow that with a couple of Phoenixes, generally what you get. Mass Void Ray not so popular at the moment, of course. It looks like you can see this Overlord and he's heading straight to there. Yep, you can see it, so that's a free Overlord right away. But of course that's going to give out the Stargate tech instantly, and I mean, you could probably be a bit cleverer and use his Stargate units to take out Overlords that are closer to the Zerg's base and then come and round up anything else, because this is going to give the other Overlords a chance to escape. The Roach one is now coming up in about 8 minutes, and we also have a macro hatch in the main base. Looks like Dimaga has become supply blocked. Not his fault though, because of course he lost the Overlord, and the Void Ray is now going to go around and see what it can see. Don't quite know what's heading over here. Of course, on this map there is a creep tumor preventing this expansion. You might just be expecting there to be an Overlord up here instead of clearing the watchtower. And oh, actually he's got an OBS here, so he's specifically taking out this creep tumor. So I guess he wants to expand here, and he does have a War Prism coming in, so that is actually really clever. Of course, ASD is going to look like he's on 2 bases, and the Zerg player will probably prepare for that 2 base all in. But he's actually looks like he's going to expand here, so imagine as soon as this comes out, yep, he has already rounded in a probe. Dimaga has now got a couple of evolution chambers coming down, and his infestation pit, so he will be getting infestors. He hasn't got any roaches yet, but he is getting glial reconstitution, which is of course the roach movement. Creep tumors are moving out a bit slowly actually. Looks like the couple of Phoenixes are now out, and this Zergling is still just watching the watchtower, so he knows everything. Looks like these Zerglings might be heading out to try and deny a third if it goes out. Of course, there's a very minuscule gateway army at the moment, and this harassment is going to be a bit annoying for the Zerg player, but shouldn't do too much damage. It looks like he's got a couple of spore crawlers off in his base, and also those Overlords are retreating to the spore crawlers, so he probably won't lose too many more. Of course, this one might go down. And it looks like as soon as this creep recedes, then he's going to be getting that expansion up. Looks like we have the pathogen glands for the infestor energy coming up as well, and looks like Dimaga's unfortunately going to lose 1 Overlord. He's still doing pretty well though on supply. He's up to 62 drones. Protoss player up to 58. Although if he gets his 3rd up, the amount of chrono boost he'll have will be able to put him up to exactly what he wants. He'll get that gas competition that he really needs. A couple of models coming out, and these are models that sort of to deter the roach plays. Of course, little does he know there is no roaches out. But he has the potential to build roaches. He's also getting the missile attack. He's also got 7 infestors coming down. There's also a spire. So it looks like he is headed towards that infestor broodlord comp that's meant to be so powerful. So we'll have to see if it is actually OP. Of course you can't really make that judgment from one game, but well, sure we can, why not? We do have 2 gases coming down at the base expansion and also a photon cannon. And actually Dimaga's in a pretty good position here if he knew this expansion was up, which he doesn't. I'm fairly certain he doesn't, that's right. He could send a few Mutalisks here before this photon cannon gets up and potentially destroy the entire base with almost no units to defend. Of course he could warp in, but looks like he's only got about 4 or 5 warp gates. Small army coming to clear this expansion, and Dimaga at the moment think this is a late 3rd. So he's thinking, oh, not the best force fields, those Zerglings will escape, but yeah, Dimaga's like, this looks like it's a really late 3rd. I guess if I can just deny this, maybe I can really come out ahead economically, and he might be getting a bit tricked by this. He is only still producing Lings and Corruptors, no Roaches, and the Corruptors of course can turn into late game Broodlords. But no Roaches, and just a lot of Infestors. And I've been talking to a few Zerg players recently actually, while I wasn't able to play the game because I didn't have a computer, but they were saying that they feel forced to make infestors, and it's not really fun. I mean, as a Zerg player myself, no one likes losing, but when something's overpowered, it's overpowered. And it looks like you might lose this Phoenix actually, but if you're in a position where you feel you have to build 1 unit to win the game, it's not fun. And I don't mean like build Zerglings or Roaches, because you build those every game. But if you're building 1 support unit and too many of those, it just doesn't feel right. I mean, and even programmers, I think, have been saying that they don't feel like they really want to be building infestors, but there's no real other option. Dimaga's got quite a few queens here, it's just building up energy, and of course those are going to be good later in the game if he can transfuse his Corruptors and Broodlords. A couple of Zealots got warped in by this little warp prison. That was... where has it gone? There it is. Trying to deny this 4th for Dimaga, but looks like it gets denied by the Zerglings. A couple more Zerglings up. A couple more Zealots up here, I mean. Going to make sure this 5th can go down. The Hive is now coming up. Double upgrades going, and oh, looks like they had a little lag and they paused it, which is why all that text comes in at once. And Dimaga is sitting at the perfect, sort of perfect really, 75 drones. Protoss player should be there momentarily. And supplies relatively even. I mean, I kind of feel bad for Dimaga in this position because he probably has no idea about this base. And he's just... it's a bad decision for him because he thinks that the Protoss is just on his 3rd, so he probably thinks he's really far ahead. Realistically, he's only about 7 supply up. Dimaga getting a few more drones here, and looks like he's starting a Spine Crawler wall, which does support those Broodlord armies if you need the time to remax if they get down. And oh, these Zealots could take out a lot of Infestors here. It looks like a couple of Fungals go down, the Zerglings are being recalled, but looks like with enough energy he should be able to take these out alright. Cancels in that warp in from the warp prism, and I'm afraid ASD didn't do too much damage there, although he is now pushing out at 167 supply. How much damage can he do with this? He's got a semi... it's mostly a Gateway Colossus army with a couple of air units in there. Not really a Void Red Colossus. Looks like he doesn't want to go for that build. Just wants a standard Colossus Gateway army with 1-1. And these Infestors and these Spine Crawlers could potentially hold them back for quite a long time. Especially if he puts the Infestors up on the ridge. Of course, that might be vulnerable to Blink, which the Stalkers do have. The Great Aspire is just completed, and here comes the engagement. A lot of Corruptors going in, and they are just... don't worry about any of the damage from Blink Stalkers, they're just taking out as many Colossus as they can. Of course, as soon as the Colossus are down, he'll just retreat and use them to make Broodlords later. And without the Colossus, these Spine Crawlers are going to be very deadly to that Gateway army. And looks like, I'm pretty sure Dimaga's going to try Fungling as soon as these get a bit closer to the Spore Crawlers. The Corruptors are a bit hesitant to go after that last Colossus. And Dimaga really doesn't have that much of an army. I mean, he's almost at max supply, but he doesn't have too many attacking units. Broodlord's morphing, but they're a little bit away, and these could just blink in and take them out immediately. ASD is actually doing a really good push here. Blinking in to take out a few more Broodlords. The Zerglings aren't now coming in again. And it looks like ASD is doing really well. I mean, he's lower supply than the Zerg, but he is taking out crucial gas units. And he's preventing the Broodlord count from getting too big. He could easily take out this base if he wanted to, and that would really stifle the gas production for our Zerg player. Gateway units now going in, and I'm surprised he's not just focusing this hatchery, but there he goes down, and now he is now moving up into the 5th, and the Zerg player is going to need more bases if he wants that gas. We do have the Mothership coming up, which will allow ASD to get that Mothership Archon army, which will allow him to do the Arcane, not really an Arcane Toilet, but it doesn't quite work anymore, but the Arcane, what do they call it? The Vortex, where you throw the Archons in and they come out and destroy the Broodlords, and game can really come down to if you get a good Vortex or not. So we'll have to see how Dimaga counteracts that. The Broodlords are sticking in this little base here they've got. Of course, that gives them protection from Blink, and this is a really good position for him, but he doesn't want to move too far in. He's getting dangerously close, they blink in, and oh, he's going to lose some Broodlords here, unfortunately. Is he going to run away, or is he going to keep going in? And Dimaga is actually doing, well, he's pushing the Protoss away, but I think he could have lost a few less Broodlords in that engagement. The Zerg player is about 9 supply down. More Blinken. He's overextending himself with the Broodlords. He wants to build up more. He wants a lot of Broodlords and a lot of Infestors. He's only got 4 Infestors left. Looks like he's a bit clumsy with them. Stalker army is now moving back though. He's taken out all the important units, such as the Colossus. So he actually could just reinforce with Zerglings if he wanted to. Looks like Dimaga still doesn't have any idea about this island base. ASD clearing up a few creep tumors. And we do have the 5th coming down for the Protoss, and that sound means like the warp in of the Mothership has arrived. Where is it? Here it is, causing lag for everyone. And if he gets a few more Archons in this, it could be really deadly. He is getting plus, looks like +2, or is it +3? No, +3 is coming in for the Protoss player, and +3 Archons and Stalkers is going to be pretty deadly. The Zerg player is sitting at about 7 Broodlords and 4 Infestors. But imagine he's going to be got another 4 Infestors on the way. He's getting +3 melee attack, which will of course improve his Broodlords that much. Do have these other 2 bases coming up, but it has been such a issue with getting gas now that if he had these 2 bases up still, he probably could be steamrolling the Protoss at the moment, but he's forced to stay in the base. Protoss army is getting pretty scary here actually. He does have those Templars now, and he could turn them into Archons after getting the... is he actually going for Psionic Storm? Doesn't look like he is yet. Which, where is his Archon? There it is. No, he hasn't researched Storm yet, which... I think that's a bit of a mistake. You could probably realistically get a few Storms off before he morphs into Archons. Do have the Warp Prism coming about the back to do a bit of harassment. And he could potentially get quite a few drones actually. A lot of drones are transferring sort of back to this base now. We have some more Vine Crawlers coming up for Dimaga. Let's see how much drones he's at. He's down to 67, so he's really reduced those drone count. And he might want to build some more actually, because he's only at 160 supply. I mean, realistically he wants to fill up most of his supply with attacking units, but while he doesn't have the attacking units, it's a good opportunity to drones up. Anyway, we do have the Spine Crawlers are now... Oh, Blinken, that's a really nice Blinken. He's going to be able to take quite a few Broodlords. He took out, looks like 3 or 4. Unfortunately, the Stalkers are forced to retreat with those heavy Broodlord numbers and Spine Crawlers. Of course, if you have that Mothership here, it doesn't look like there's any... Oh, there's one Overseer here. We also have a bit of a warp in with Zealots here, and this could actually do pretty much damage. If you can find the Greater Spire, wherever that is for Dimaga, and take it out, it looks like it's safely behind his second, though. Do have a couple of Infestors coming out, and finally some Roaches, the first time they've been out of the game. They do have +3 though, so they're quite deadly. The Corruptors do take down that Warp Prism, but ooh, bit of a distraction here. Dimaga, his army is out of position. This Gateway army is now going to be able to take out his 4th and 5th again. A couple of Infestors popping out. Ooh, that's nasty to lose. He's got a couple of Templars in the back, ready to feed back any of those nasty Infestors, although the Infestor count is getting pretty high. It looks like he's sitting at 12 Infestors, and that's pretty ridiculous for a supporting unit. It's a support unit, not a main unit, which is why people are saying they're a bit strong. So we have +2 flyer attack, and +3 is almost finished for the Infestors, +3 ground armor is almost finished for the Protoss, and I think the Zerg army is just realistically going to wait for the Protoss to try and escape, and Dimaga could actually go in here and just face a recalled army. Yep, there goes recall. Good move by SD, and I wonder if Dimaga actually thinks they're still in his base. Maybe not. He's got this observer here, so I guess that's a bit of a mistake for him. It looks like he's sending those Roaches into check. Maybe he's like, wait a minute, you trying to fool me? And he's realized that there are no units back in there, and oh, this is really sneaky. ASD should have gone this way again. There we go. He's coming back now, and he is doing a bit of shenanigans with his recall, bringing them to decide that the army is not on. The Zerg player is only at 140 supply, and the Protoss is at 185, which you'd think that the Protoss player would be able to just steamroll him. He is going in with another Warp Prism and some Warp Pins. He could potentially warp these units into the main base as well. But the problem is these Fungals just prevent anything from happening. A couple of Fungals going down on these Zealots to prevent them from using their melee attack, and ooh, trying to trick him again. He comes back in the top. These Spine Crawlers are just not going to finish. He's able to go in, and the Zerg army is actually very immobile, which is great. Oh, Cloaked Templar coming in and feedbacking some Infestors, but unfortunately Nice Vortex goes down and gets quite a lot of the units, and oh, that was a brilliant move by Dimaga. He fungled the Archons from preventing them from going into the Vortex, and he needs those Archons inside the Vortex to hit the Infestors as they come out. Looks like the Broodlords are coming out, and see that splash damage takes out quite a few units. That's quite deadly, and the Zerg player is actually dropping in supply radically. He's down to 85 supply. It looks like the Protoss player is actually going to take this game. I guess you need to have perfect position. We have some Warp Pins in the back here, and this is a lot of Zealots. But it looks like Dimaga is going to leave the game and GG anyway. Okay, so just going to have a bit of an instant replay here. There's a couple of cool things happened. You see, we have these Cloaked Templar come in from the Mothership. That allows them to feed back quite a lot of Infestors. Unfortunately, the Fungal goes off on them, and that makes them visible, so they're destroyed. But then he gets an amazing Vortex off on almost every Broodlord. But then Dimaga sees the Archons heading for the toilet, and he Fungals them instantly, and that prevents them from getting in, which could have actually saved in this battle. But unfortunately, they're just a bit too close, and as the Broodlords come out, you will notice that they almost all die instantly from the splash damage from those Archons. That, of course, do plus damage to biological units. So here they come, and look at them go. Alright, so this has been my first cast in a while. It's going to take me a while to figure out my old settings and get everything back to usual, but thanks for watching, and please stick around if you want to see more. See you guys. Cheers.